Time's not going to help. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't think he knows Spanish.
No. 5 minutes? Not really enough time to learn. But before we have that, we do have spawning up in the top left-hand corner of the map. We do have the pink Protoss playing for the Platinum Heroes. It is ArT.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Stargazers ESL, nothing. It's just Stargazers. We have the player who is ready for a PvP. His brain is dead, so he is in the correct mindset here for this semifinals match. Representing Team Super from the land of Canada. Now playing at like 8 a.m. in the morning. It is Trigger.
Yeah, so we do have Poland up against Canada here. We see both players going for slightly different paths on their scouts, and we see a little bit of a difference in the opening coming out from the two players as well. So Trigger going again for that one gate expand setup with the low ground gateway, and we do see the more standard gateway on the high ground with the wall off for
Yeah, for ArT. So really bold move here. Again, there's a reason why we reference Trigger and we associate him with Max Packs, because even though we don't have a ramp to work with, he goes for the low ground wall. He's crazy.
Yeah, very confident move coming out here. Will assume the role of the defender and will say, you know what? I want to have the extra economy. Come at me. So I like this coming out from him as well. Definitely a very confident way to start the series.
Oh yeah, and we'll see if that confidence is based in reality or if indeed his brain is dead. We will find out. So far, first Zelda is going to be on the way here for Trigger to make sure that he is able to actually get his base up and running. 2-gate opener from ArT is going to be going across the map with his, I imagine, double Stalker. There we go, they are going to be on the way.
I love that. You're just like, is he the expert in the 1-gate expand, or is he stupid?
He called himself brain dead, okay? That's the only reason why I said Oh god. I didn't mean it that way, puppy. I didn't mean it that way.
It's like, come play our tournament and we will call you brain dead.
He called himself brain
Hey. Come on. Meanwhile,
right.
we do see he's not that brain dead at all. He does have a very nice reaction coming up. So I wouldn't call him brain dead. I don't know why you would. It looks like he's all over the defense so far. Got these stalkers in very nice position, got the battery ready, and even got his robo on the way. So I really like this setup for him.
Yeah, look, his brain is very much alive right now. It's kicking. You know, it's not on live support by any means. He is here, but you know what? ArT reinforces now, doubling the stalker count of his opponent. Is going to try and, oh my god, try and force his way through. Trigger has to be so careful not to be caught out of position here.
It does have the battery in his favor, so the 3 vs 4 stalker matchup actually not too bad for him, and does manage to get a little bit of hull damage already on one of the stalkers of ArT, so pretty nice start already for Trigger.
Yeah, and Trigger doubling down on the defensive play. He follows this up with a robo going straight for an immortal as well. Throws down a second shield battery. You could argue maybe being overly defensive. Regardless, he wants to make sure he gets away with this Nexus opening. Behind this, ArT going for an Oracle.
Yeah, I really like this coming out from ArT. He has shown 4 stalkers already. It does look like an aggressive stalker build, which would, like in the series we saw before, often be something along the lines of Stalker Immortal, but we do see him instead going for Oracle. So trying to find a different way to find his damage, as he has probably noticed it will be difficult to get damage at the front there with all the defensive commitment from Trigger.
Yeah, so he pulls back with his stalkers. He makes sure he doesn't lose anything unnecessarily. Meanwhile, here we go. The first Oracle comes across the map. He cannot activate his Pulsar Beam because we have a shield battery, so instead he goes for the Stasis, and he will get 2 workers.
Yeah, grabs himself the worker and the gas worker as well. Does deny a little bit of mining time, so considering he wouldn't have been able to get any damage with the Pulsar Beam, he'll be quite happy just to take the small amount of damage with the denied mining time. And we do see him behind this going for Blink.
Yeah, he went for a very fast Twilight Council. He's now working on his third gateway. Was only working on 2 behind this. His Stalker count is looking pretty good. Trigger has the option to be aggressive, as now he has a Warp Prism, but again, he does have the lower overall gateway count. It's going to be difficult to really do too much. Right now, he's just focusing on the defense, making sure that the Oracle doesn't get out of control.
Yeah, I actually really like this as a build choice from ArT. Fantastic way to play into the features of the map. This is one of the reasons that this isn't a map that we often see in TvP, because it is very abusable with backstab maneuvers such as those you can do with the Blink Stalkers. So having the one Oracle to give himself the high ground vision as well, it can really abuse this back base setup. There's lots of places for him to blink in and lots of room for him to maneuver.
Oh yeah, Trigger's aware of that. He does have a pylon here at the cliff outside his main base, but as you were saying, the pocket base is always a little bit vulnerable. At the same time, Trigger tried to slip in across the map, but there were Stalkers in position. The Warp Prism doesn't find any way in, and Trigger is forced to back off.
You do have this Oracle just following the Warp Prism around. It's kind of like, you know, when you're taking care of your cousins or something and they've got that little kid and the kid's just following you around and he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Ah, what are you doing? Okay, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
What am I doing? Oh, we do have the Oracle giving the vision to blink in, and we do see why this is such a good build for this map. Straight into the main, unharassed.
And Trigger is completely out of position. He had nothing to spot this massive blink into the main base. Already a couple units getting picked off, one after the other. Shield batteries are not ready here in the main either.
Yeah, does manage to pick off that pylon and gets himself to safety with these blinks as well. Does have one Stalker getting a little bit lost along the way and is picked off there, but he can just rotate back around to this other side. And yeah, this is such a painful map to defend on.
Yeah, exactly, especially because Trigger, okay, there we go, Blink has finally finished up for Trigger, and what I will say is that overall, his main army is looking stronger than that of his opponent. Meanwhile, Stasis Trap is going to go up. 2 of his Stalkers already get trapped here in the middle of the map, and ArT is completely bypassing that army.
It's where that Immortal flinched. I don't know if it's just like very fast reactions coming out from the side of Trigger, but kind of looks like it flinched away from that. But yeah, we do see kind of a base trade situation coming in here. And with the 2 Immortals, I think actually 3 Immortals of Trigger, this is something that could really favor him. The Immortals absolutely chunk through buildings.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see how this goes as Trigger is trying to repower his Robo, repower his gateways. He's going all in across the map. Both players are indeed, and this is getting really messy. Again, I do think that Trigger has the stronger main army, but ArT's a little bit more maneuverable here as, oh my god, he's going to be able to take out so much more in the main base, but the production is going down for ArT.
Yeah, very clever by ArT, realizing his advantages in the situation that he's not going to be able to win a straight up fight, but he is able to make this a very complex and crazy situation for Trigger by forcing this base trade, and we can already see he's got quite a bit of damage on the Stalkers of Trigger.
Yeah, he does, but the power of the Immortals is that these buildings are all being depowered. There was a kill on the Cyber Core, so we can't see any more defensive warp-ins. Meanwhile, everything is repowered here from Trigger, and he even goes for the recall.
Yeah, very nice choice to recall here. Does leave just a few units back in the base of ArT, and ArT will in turn recall the right number of Stalkers, but there really is no way for him to stop Trigger from mining.
Yeah, exactly. Trigger was able to keep so many of his workers alive. Meanwhile, ArT is down to 7 probes. What's important is that Trigger didn't even recall everything, so he still has a couple more Stalkers here across the map, dealing a little bit more damage. He did lose an Immortal, but that was only 1, and Trigger still has 3 more behind this.
Yeah, Trigger still with quite a formidable army, and we can see ArT is back to mining, does have his base with the shield batteries mining, but we do see Trigger pushing out once again, and I believe we're probably going to see the exact same situation, as this is not an army that ArT can fight.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to try to, though. He does meet the army in the middle of the map. He's going to try and slow it down. He does have the higher Stalker count, and the Immortals are a little bit of a ways away, so Trigger has to wait for them to really come into the fray. But once they do, again, Trigger has so much firepower, and ArT, if he wants to take a fight, he would have to fight with the shield battery with overcharge.
Yeah, the player's just trading Stalker kills there, but ArT does realize that he can't engage into these Immortals even with the shield battery. There's too much DPS, so he will try these hit and run tactics, but this is a very tough situation that he finds himself in, and the probes as well cornered away from the protection of the Stalkers.
Yeah, this is the only real mining base. G gets called, and Trigger will take the first game.
Yeah, commanding game coming out from Trigger there. Very confident going for the gate expand on the map without the ramp and on a map with a little bit of a shorter rush distance as well. Is able just to kind of almost seems like it got in the head of ArT a little bit, was able to deflect the attacks on the front, was able to defend the attacks in through his back door without taking too much damage at all, and just managed to build up the stronger force in the end.
Yeah, it was a really crucial decision there as well for Trigger not to turn around when the base trade started, right? Like there was an option there, he could have turned around. He was only halfway across the map at the time, but no, he knew how powerful his army was, and he also knew like how much infrastructure damage he could deal as well. Like he just did so much more with his immortals than what ArT was able to do with his Winged Stalkers, and yeah, it was just a really good decision making there from Trigger.
Absolutely, definitely. Looks like he's quite well versed in the different situations that can come out of these gate expands. So, yeah, it's nice to see him leaning into this specialty, and we are seeing some slightly different PvPs coming out as well.
Oh boy, that's we are. Now we're getting into game number 2. Oh boy, as a reminder, these semifinals are a best of 3, not a best of 5. So potentially the final game, our Polish player has to bring it back here and now.
Yes, and here he is spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, the Polish player playing for Platinum Heroes. It is the pink Protoss, ArT.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Inside and Out, we have the Canadian Protoss player himself. He is red, representing Team Super. Clearly not quite brain dead. Or maybe he was, I don't know. Maybe that's what you need, I don't know. We have Trigger.
Was expecting a little bit more Zerg bias, but you're just like, that's how you play a Protoss, puppy. You have to be brain dead.
You have to, man. You have to. I mean, like, I'm sure Trigger would agree with me, okay? I'm just saying, just saying. I love you, puppy, I love you. Trigger, please.
Yeah, meanwhile, we do have, as we were talking about before, or alluding to with the previous PvPs, on these ramp maps, it is a bit more normal to see the gate expand, so we do see it coming out from both players this time, so already a little bit of a different setup going into this one.
Yeah, we didn't really get to talk about the vetoes previously, but the fact that Stargazer made it through the vetoes was really shocking to me. Clearly, Trigger was prepared and knew what to do on Stargazer. Maybe ArT a little bit more unawares of that kind of style. Maybe he was playing like the veto chicken sort of thing, and he expected Stargazers to be vetoed and was shocked when it wasn't. PvP.
Yeah, I did like the choice of ArT to go for that blink attack, but it almost seemed like he was being baited into it, so possibly that was the plan from the get-go for Trigger.
Yeah, anticipating what the response would be and responding in kind himself. So that was a beautiful display of PvP in game number 1. Meanwhile, here in game number 2, both players going for the exact same thing. We do see that they're being forced to make Zealots here, both trying to expand. And we'll see if anyone flinches first, as, ooh, Trigger actually gets his Nexus down.
Yeah, this is pretty big for Trigger, but as we normally see in these situations, you don't want to commit too much to the blocking. If the other player hasn't committed a lot to the blocking either, you just want to kind of take the lead that you can without over-committing and forcing them into a situation where they might be able to leverage a different advantage.
Yeah, exactly. Because of that, ArT doesn't go for a Stargate first. He does go for the Nexus first. Trigger has a little bit of a lead here, not just when it comes to his own Stargate timing, but also, Nexus timing, but also his Stargate as well, as it was thrown down immediately. Quickly looking at the vision here, ArT did see the Stargate as it was thrown down.
Yeah, so nice scout there coming out from ArT, but it is something that's pretty normal for these openings. It's quite standard to go for the Zealot and then go for the Stargate when you're opening with the one gate expand, especially the option of being able to make a Void Ray if you are in a lot of trouble can be quite nice as well. So we are seeing a pretty standard choice from Trigger as we have this first little duel here as well.
Yeah, and Trigger is going to be able to deal a little bit of hull damage there to ArT's Stalker, but with the second Stalker rocking on up, it looks like ArT is going to be able to deal with at least the Zealots. What's interesting to me, you were talking about how common this follow-up is, and it is very common, which is why I was shocked when ArT didn't throw down a Stargate and when he threw down a Twilight Council instead.
Yeah, going for something a little bit different there. Nice micro coming out from Trigger just to maximize the damage on that Oracle, but doesn't manage to get the kill in the end on that extra Stalker. And this Oracle is now bruised and out of energy, so it does take a bit of the sting out of his opening.
Exactly, so he won't be able to do too much here. I mean, ArT already threw down a shield battery in his main base, so he was kind of prepared for an Oracle anyway. He was already invested into that, and we see Blink on the way here. Trigger, he goes for a bit of a scout, confirms no tech at the wall, and he also does see the Twilight Council.
Yeah, nice movement there with the Oracle. Manages to scout everything without taking any extra hull damage additional to what he's already taken. Does meet up with the second Oracle there, and will start to shark around with these again.
Oh, exactly. Now with 2 Oracles, he has 1-shot potential. Doesn't have that much energy on that first Oracle, so won't be able to do too much. I say that, but 6 probes do go down.
Yeah, nicely done there. 6 probes. Does lose the 1 Oracle, but no damage on the second Oracle, and does lose the Oracle as well that had already taken whole damage. So all in all, not too bad a trade at all.
Oh, and ArT doing something even cheekier with his opener, so he doesn't just have a faster blink, but he doubles down and he's going for a Dark Shrine hidden behind his main base.
Yeah, very interesting opening coming out here. He does recognize that he's managed to shoo away this main scouting potential with the Oracles. Knows as well that with those Oracles, the Robo is quite delayed and almost not necessary for Trigger. So if he can catch Trigger without energy on this Oracle and without an Observer, that's going to be a very tough situation for him, almost game-ending if he can't keep the DTs away from the probes.
Yeah, let's be honest, we've seen it time and time again in a PvP where DTs rock up and they just end the game. If there is no detection, if they are able to depower the Stargate, or if they just happen to catch Trigger at a rough time, these DTs could deal a lot of damage. Meanwhile, Trigger does have an Oracle active on the map. It is looking to go in, but it gets spotted by the pylon, and immediately ArT is looking to intercept.
Yeah, just using these Stalkers just to try to zone out any of this map vision from Trigger. It does actually manage to get the kill on the Oracle, so there is no detection at all for Trigger.
Oh, exactly, and now the DTs are being morphed in. They're on the way here across the map. Trigger is pushing out with a large force of Stalkers, but again, as you said, no detection. The only way for him to do so is to actually get another Oracle.
Yeah, absolutely, and we do see finally now the robotics facility is starting up for Trigger, but the DTs are already here, and if they can find the pylon powering that robo facility, he will just checkmate him.
Oh, exactly. Meanwhile, Trigger is trying to dance here with the main army, but the DTs have finally revealed themselves here in the main base, in the natural. There is no robot for Trigger. He does have a forge on the way, I guess, so he will have a way. Meanwhile, he blinks on top of the army.
Yes, straight on top of the army there, and does manage to get a lot of damage. There is 1-shot potential with these Stalkers, but there is also a DT here, and this will eventually manage to take out a lot of these Stalkers. It does put a timer on the push.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the entire army of ArT just crumbles here in Trigger. He knows that he has to keep on going. He has to deal whatever he can. Meanwhile, across the map, he's losing everything. 36 probes have gone down. Finally, 1 Oracle comes out, but 1 Oracle only has 1 revelation. He can't reveal all the DTs.
Yeah, actually, it looks like I missaw. There was no robo on the way for Trigger at all. That was the robo of ArT. So all the detection that he has is that 1 Oracle and cannons if he can eventually get them up. But, yeah.
I mean, he has a forge, I guess, Copium, but Trigger, he's basically just trying to all in right now, but with these DTs, it's so difficult to really pull this off. He's going to be able to take down a lot of workers. Meanwhile, across the map, still DTs just wreaking havoc.
Yeah, he's trying to dance around and just avoid the DTs while taking as many probes out as he can, but meanwhile, on the other side of the map, 54, 55 probes going down. The entire economy has been decimated for Trigger, and there is really no way for him to get back into this game unless he can kill off all the probes and do damage likewise with his own Stalkers, and I'm just not sure I can see that happening.
Yeah, there's an Immortal out now for ArT. A lot of the production was depowered, so ArT was struggling to warp into defense, but again, with 1 Immortal, with an overcharge, with a shield battery, this natural is looking incredibly fortified, and Trigger's not going to be able to break this.
Yeah, ArT recognizing that all he has left to do is clean up this last army with the devastating economic damage that he's done already. He just morphs the DTs into an Archon and will push back these Stalkers, and I believe we are seeing the beginning of the end for Trigger.
Yeah, Trigger is down to 1 probe. Only one probe remaining here for Trigger. Where is it? Okay, there it is. It's mining gas at the natural base. He has a handful of stalkers remaining as well. 8 stalkers in total, but there's just no way to really do anything from here. DTs did win the game here for ArT. Trigger, he's trying to micro his hard, and he does kind of outposition the army, to be fair.
Yeah, he does call GG there. I'm not really sure what the goal there was in the end. He does see all the probes and calls GG.
We are going to our ace match. Really nice job there from ArT to be able to deny any kind of scouting and make sure that that Dark Shrine remained hidden.
Yeah, did a really good job with the blink as well. I can see how that pairs so well. He can use those stalkers and that map presence that they have with the early blink as well. Not only to sow a bit of confusion with the direction of his build, but just to completely deny those oracles. So yeah, really nicely done, and he gets himself back in this series.
Oh, he does. He claws his way back in, and now we are going into our final game of the series. Again, this is a best of 3, and we are diving into the ace match. It's your map, Poppy. It's your map. Let's go.
Let's go. And we do have the ace match coming in on Data C. So yeah, we will be deciding here who goes on to the grand final to face the winner of the ZVT that is waiting for us in the lower bracket. So yeah, very exciting games up ahead. We will see which Protoss will proceed.
Exactly. The finals are confirmed not to be a mirror matchup. So again, exciting times do lie ahead as we load in to game number 3 in Data Under the Sea. And spawning in the top right hand corner, we have our Polish Protoss player himself. He is pink, representing Platinum Heroes. It is ArT.
And spawning in the bottom left hand corner of the map, playing for Team Super, it is the Canadian Protoss in the red. It is Trigger.
Oh boy, it all comes down to this. And you know what, Asher? You know what? Just for you, I'll be honest, I haven't watched The Little Mermaid in like 20 years. I'll watch it tonight. Let's
go. Stream it in Discord. We're not watching Scarface. We haven't even had Tropical Scarface today. Forget about it. We're not watching that movie. We're watching Little Mermaid.
Yeah, say goodbye to our little friend, mate. We got Sebastian. We got Sebastian coming in instead.
Oh no.
Oh my god. Meanwhile,
I have no words.
We got our standard openers here on these ramp maps. We do have the gate expands. Something about this map pool, there are so many ramp maps, and even with the maps without ramps, we go for gate expands anyway.
Yeah, I've noticed this map pool overall does seem to be quite favorable in general for defending and defensive play. So not surprised at all to see a bit more of an emphasis on the gate expanding. We do see a bit more of a commitment to the blocking coming out from ArT this time, so neither player are able to throw that on the Nexus just yet.
Yeah, exactly. Zelda being forced out from both players as well. Trigger still hasn't thrown down his own pylon as he's forced to throw down a Stargate instead just because of all these delays. So again, his Nexus is going to be forced to be a little bit later than he would have liked. Meanwhile, ArT likewise doesn't even try to throw down that Nexus, also goes for its Stargate first.
Yeah, so we just see both the players matching each other step for step so far. We do see slightly early Stargate out, and actually slightly earlier Nexus out for Trigger as well. So I do believe he has found himself a small advantage coming out from this opening so far.
Yeah, and now we enter an interesting mind game scenario where both players went for a Stargate and both players scattered each other, and now we'll see if any or both go for a Phoenix instead of an Oracle.
Hey, you called it. Very nice. So we do have the Phoenix coming out. So if we do see an Oracle coming out from ArT, we will see Trigger taking another very favorable bit of a coin flip here, and we do actually see the Oracle here. So yeah, very nice coming out from Trigger here.
Exactly. We even saw a little bit of a delay there with a bit of a supply block because of the delayed nexus wasn't quite lined up there in the end for our Polish player. Meanwhile, Trigger is waiting here in the main base with these Phoenixes. Now, we'll see if they pay for themselves, because if they're out of position, this Oracle could still deal some damage.
Yeah, but at the same time, we also see a commitment to a shield battery coming out from ArT. So he does, I think he does just catch a glimpse of that Phoenix there, but he has really caught the short end of the stick with these openings.
Exactly. Wasted resources on the shield battery, potentially wasted resources with the Oracle, as the Oracle is diving across the map, looking to go into the main base where that's exactly where those Phoenixes are ready and waiting.
Yeah, he did call himself brain dead, but I think this is a very intelligent choice for Trigger. He has noticed that ArT's opened Oracle every game so far, so he has kind of just hard counted that opening, and we are seeing the same thing coming out from ArT as well with the fast Twilight Council, but yeah, he does catch this Oracle out of position, and the Oracle is not going to get any spells off at all.
Wow, Trigger completely shutting down and looking dominant here in the early stages of game number 3. So now it's on ArT to try and find a way to come back here. He gives up his map control. His opener didn't really do much of anything, so now he's a little bit behind. Phoenixes are zooming across map to deal some damage. At least he does have Stalkers to defend, and that shield battery will kind of keep his main base safe.
Yeah, will help defend these probes, but the Phoenix do so much damage they can eventually DPS through the battery, which we do see there. At the same time, both players starting up their blink at almost precisely the same moment. So I really do think that Trigger has caught on to the fact that ArT has been going for the same opener over and over again, and he has found a way to put himself very significantly ahead with this.
Yeah, he really has. Behind this, we have a Robo on the way for Trigger. So once again, it looks like he wants to delve into that Immortal tech. I wouldn't be opposed to that, especially because of his lead. He can afford to do so. Meanwhile, even getting himself set up for a third base.
Yeah, I do like this. Just realizing that in all ways, he's mirroring ArT and even slightly ahead. So he is able to get that third down even a little bit earlier. Does scout the third of his opponent as well. So he'll be very confident about his position in this game, and even throws down a proxy gate here for the fast warp ins.
Yeah, Trigger is behind when it comes to the Stalker count, but he can make up for that with the Phoenixes. He can CC these Stalkers. Meanwhile, ArT moves out, and Trigger moves in to try and deny that third.
Yeah, one Protoss goes out, one Protoss goes in. Can't explain it, and we do see a little bit of damage already coming out for Trigger. Does send the Phoenix into the main as well, so they're just going to start to be able to wail on these probes, but does find himself a little bit out of position here.
Yeah, he's going to be forced all the way back. He's going to be forced to reveal his hand here, so this proxy gateway is not going to get up and running, but at the same time, 4 probes go down. The Phoenixes have not been dealt with.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate there that the way he had to run away due to how he was sandwiched did lead the Stalkers into his proxy gateway, but does manage to do it in time that he can cancel the gate, so saves a little bit of money there. And getting 8 probes, even 9 probes, very nice for him.
Yeah, it was well worth it. You know, I don't think that was an intentional bait from Trigger, but he forced ArT completely out of position, out into the center or into the outskirts of the map, and because of that, his mineral lines were left completely vulnerable. Meanwhile, that Immortal count is slowly getting higher and higher. We already have 1 on the map here for Trigger. ArT trying to meet that with his own Immortals, but once again, the Phoenixes are being such a nuisance.
Yeah, we do see the very standard steps of the PvP coming through. We see the +1, we see the charge, so we see the Immortals as well. The Immortals to deal with the Stalkers, and then in anticipation of the Immortals of the opponent, the Zealots will deal with the Immortals. So just a very standard setup coming out from both players, but we do see a lot of gateways coming down for Trigger all at once.
Oh yeah, he's getting ready for that massive move out, and the Trigger, like, I'm just shocked to see how far ahead he's gotten in all these like little aspects, right? Whether it's his timing for his upgrades, his gateway explosion, he's even faster with his own forge upgrades as well. +1 attack already halfway done here, able to maintain his worker lead. It just goes to show how important that opener was for him. And now, mate, he's moving out across the map.
Yeah, Trigger has finished his probing. He's got his full 3-base saturation. No more probes coming out from him, and we do have all these gateways up quite a lot earlier from ArT. So this is a very nice timing that he's got that has been afforded to him through all the small leads that he found in the early game.
Yeah, exactly. Thankfully, we do. Oh my god, never mind. The overcharge gets denied immediately. A solid offensive blink there from Trigger, and he just dives on top of the army.
Yeah, great killer instinct there from Trigger. Sees the overcharge popped and breaks it, breaks that battery almost the second that it's popped, and all these probes are going down. The Stalkers are being overwhelmed by the weapons of Zealots, and GG is called.
Wow, GG, well played. That was a masterclass of PvP shown by Trigger there. He was just, again, he knew exactly what his opponent was up to. He forced his opponent to play to his own music. That was just incredibly well done.
Yeah, masterful play coming out there from Trigger. ArT just going for the same opening a little bit too many times in a row, and Trigger was able to make the necessary adjustments to punish, and he does find himself going through to the finals.
Wow, in such a fashion I was not expecting that, especially going up against ArT, because ArT is the #1 seed in this tournament. He has won Sparkling Tuna Cups in the past, but now he is taken down here by the young North American talent. Trigger moves on to the grand finals, and now we're gonna find out who meets him there.